Welcome students to my next class. We have already seen profitability ratios. What do you mean by profitability ratios? Profit is one of the important aim of every business. Profit is needed for the survival and growth of a firm. So every person is interested in knowing the profit earning capacity of a business firm. Profitability ratios helps in measuring the profitability of a firm. Various profitability ratios are gross profit ratio, net profit ratio, operating ratio, expense ratio. Gross profit ratio shows the relation between gross profit to gross sales, that is gross profit divided by net sales into 100. The ideal ratio of gross profit ratio is 20 or 25 percentage. Then the next one is net profit ratio. Net profit ratio expresses the relation between net profit to net sale. We can calculate net profit ratio is equal to net profit divided by net sales into 100. Net profit divided by net sales into 100. It measures a firm's overall profitability. It measures a firm's overall profitability. The ideal norm of net profit ratio is 5% or 10%. The ideal norm of net profit ratio is 5 or 10%. Next, we have to see in the ratio, expense ratio. Expense ratio shows the relation between various expenses to net sales. Expense ratio shows the relation between various expenses to net sales. What are the various expenses? The material expenses, labor expenses, office expenses, administration expenses, and so on. For example, factory expense ratio is equal to factory expense divided by net sales into 100. Factory expense ratio is equal to factory expenses divided by net sales into 100. Then the next ratio is operating ratio. Operating ratio shows the relation between operating cost and net sales. Operating cost and net sale. These are the relationship shown through operating ratio. Operating cost and net sales. How it can be calculated? Operating ratio is equal to cost of goods sold plus operating expenses divided by net sales into 100. Cost of goods sold plus operating expenses divided by net sales into 100. The ideal norm of this ratio is 75% or 80%. The ideal norm of this ratio is 75% or 80%. It measures the efficiency in managing operations of a business. It measures general profitability of a business concern. A business incurs a lot of operational expenses. What are the various operational expenses? For example, office expenses, administration expenses, selling expenses, distribution expenses, financial expenses, and so on. These are the various operational expenses. Operating cost ratio shows the relation between the operating expenses to net sales. It also shows the efficiency of a firm in managing various operational expenses like office expenses, administration expenses, selling expenses, and so on. Then we can learn another ratio called operating profit ratio. Operating profit ratio shows the relation between operating profit to net sales. Operating profit ratio is equal to operating profit divided by net sales into 100. Operating profit divided by net sales into 100. Operating profit is equal to net sales minus cost of goods sold minus operating expenses. Otherwise, gross sales minus operating expenses. Gross sales minus operating expenses is equal to operating profit. This is the general formula used for calculating operating profit. Gross sales minus operating expenses. Okay, thank you.